the moon, and you take 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 the moon,
Come on in, feel free to
take the moon, and you take the moon, and you take the moon, and you take the moon,
come on in, feel free.
On the Wild TV, and welcome to day 13 of 25 Wild Christmas Review Days, the cartoon specials. Well, today and tomorrow we're in for quite a treat, because we're going to be talking about two shows that, oddly enough, feel very similar, not just by the way that they're animated and their style of humor, but also because they aired around the same time as one another, and they both ended in 2010, just around the time the Renaissance, like Adventure Time and Regular Show, were starting to move in. These shows were moving out. They kind of got batched in with the live-action shows, unfortunately. I don't hear a lot of people talking about these two shows in particular, but I was a big fan of both of them, so I want to talk about them in this series, especially since their Christmas episodes are very interesting. Mainly because it's not Christmas. It's a completely different holiday with its own set of rules and lore, but it is the holiday of Christmas, just with a different title. And I want to start this off by talking about the first show that comes to mind whenever I think of these two shows. I want to talk about Chowder, which I guess was very obvious. Also, you could read the title of the episode. Chowder was a cartoon that aired on Cartoon Network from 2007 to 2010. It followed a young purple cat-like, bear-like, rabbit-like character named Chowder, who was the apprentice to Chef Mung Dal at his own catering company. Chowder has dreams to be a chef himself one day and follows Mung in his footsteps to make his dream come true. In 2008, the holiday special Hey Hey It's Kanishmas premiered and saw Chowder getting excited for the holiday of Kanishmas, hoping to get an electric broccoli trimmer with detachable non-electric cauliflower trimmer. Alright, let's try that again. Hoping to get an electric broccoli trimmer with detachable non-electric cauliflower... God damn it. An electric broccoli trimmer with detachable non-electric cauliflower trimmer from Knish Kringle. Jesus. But to make Knish Kringle happy, you have to build a perfect gingerbread house to please him. Mung struggles to create the perfect gingerbread house, resulting in Chowder worrying not just about his gift, but Mung's faith as a chef. Whoever the voice actor of Chowder was, I gotta give that kid a lot of credit for just saying the name of the trimmer he wants for Kanishmas, not just multiple times throughout the episode, but extremely fast. Yeah, and I'm sitting here and I could speculate, oh, well, maybe they had him say it at a normal speed and then they sped up his voice, but I don't know, it didn't sound like it was sped up. Before we get into the episode, let me talk about Chowder just very briefly. I'm a big fan of Chowder. I love the show. It's a shame it only had 3 seasons, but at the same time, I feel like it didn't need any more seasons after the 3rd one. I think it had a perfect run. I remember there was a friend I had back in elementary school. I would watch it along with him. Like, we would watch the show, and then we'd come back to school the next day, and we would talk about it at lunch. And we always had an argument about what the first episode of the show was. I claimed it was a Froggy Apple Crumble Cake. That's not the proper title. I thought it was that one, and he claimed that it was the Burple Nurple episode, and I was right, because it was the first episode, the Froggy Apple Crumble Dumble Cakey Cake episode, but I think Burple Nurples was the first episode to air, but it also may have been the first episode in the production code. I'm not entirely sure, but I could see why he thought this would have been the first episode. It must have had something to do with mostly the airing. In fact, you know what? We're not gonna wait for the edit. We're gonna look this up now, because I don't want to look like an idiot on camera. I'm already wearing this hat. Oh! Well, I was kind of right. Froggy Apple Crumble Thumpkin, no cake, and Chowder's Girlfriend aired on the same day as Burple Nurples and Schnitzel Makes a Deposit. Okay, I didn't know that. I had a feeling, and I remember hearing and even seeing something that said Burple Nurples aired before Froggy Apple, Crumble Thumpkin, but there's the answer. They aired on the exact same day, so we were both right. So to my friend, if you are watching this, I'm not going to mention your name, but I'm sorry. We shouldn't have been fighting. Everything from the jokes to the style of the episodes. I mean, I gotta mention the background art for this show. It's going to be very difficult for me to really talk about this, but this is the best way I could explain what I'm referring to. Watch the clothing of the characters and just notice the interesting choice that they use for the fabric and even for some of the backgrounds. Like, you'll know what I mean. I can't describe exactly what it is, because obviously they're using some sort of technique where they have a still image staying on a moving image. But I always thought that was really neat with that show. That was an interesting design choice. But there were a lot of funny moments in this show. Sometimes characters and shows that break the fourth wall, sometimes I can get a little overplayed, but I feel like with Chowder, it did it just right. I mean, I'm sure we all remember the fiasco they all went through when they lost so much money that they couldn't afford to do any more animation. Another show ended up doing that. It was like a direct copy of what Chowder did. What show did that? Now that it's gonna bother me now. I know another show did that. Chowder was great. I love it. I loved every single episode. I saw every single episode. There wasn't one episode that I was ever like, oh, this isn't good. It was one of my favorite shows of all time as a child. I was there for the finale. I saw the finale happen live. If I have it right, I believe Chowder was unfortunately one of those shows that faced kind of a forced ending. Like, they rushed all the episodes and aired them out without announcing them. But I remember them promoting the final Chowder episode, so maybe I just didn't pay attention that well to the other promotions. But I'm a Chowder fan, and I love the show. And I still do. But do I love the Christmas episode, you ask? Well, I don't love it, but I like it. Honestly, there's really nothing else I could expect from a Chowder holiday episode. The damn names of everything, it throws me off, man. Something else I gotta give Chowder a lot of credit for is the fact that they don't mix up names of not just people, but also food. I don't know if you ever noticed this about Chowder. I mean, maybe it's an obvious, but all of the characters are named after dishes, but when you're dealing with actual food in the show, they don't have a normal name. Like Schmingerbread House. That's not a real thing. But we know what it is. We know what it is. I guess that was a bad example, because Schmingerbread sounds like gingerbread. Really interesting how they don't use the title of Christmas in this episode, but I guess that would make sense. Honestly, the Christmas episode is just like your ordinary Chowder episode, just a little more festive. This time it's a little longer. It's not a traditional 10-minute cartoon. It's a like 22-minute special. Doesn't do the traditional breaking the fourth wall moments, but it's got a lot of traditional Chowder stuff that you could expect. Like, it's got that, I don't remember the character's name, but it's got that character, the pinkish red character who will just sometimes appear on screen talking to the audience, and he just shakes his arms. It's got really interesting stop motion. That's another thing I love about the show. It incorporates different art styles. It's a traditional 2D animated show, but sometimes you'll get 3D animation. And for the most part, you'll get puppets and stop motion. What the show does always at the very end of each episode, they'll do like a little puppet segment with all the characters. Unfortunately, you don't get that in this episode. You just get Schnitzel singing in the end credits, and you don't see him, but, you know, oh well. It's a very fun episode, and it definitely shows to be a special one, especially when we dive into Mung's subplot, where he's starting to feel down on himself and make him realize that, oh, maybe he's not a great chef. Maybe he can't do this. And to be fair, he doesn't do it in the episode. That's a little spoiler for you, kids. He does not do it. He has to buy a Schmingerbread house by Endive. He doesn't redeem himself at the end. He's told nice things. He's told by Chowder,
You're a great chef.
He doesn't attempt to do the Schmingerbread house as well. Like, we just have to accept that this is one thing this character cannot cook. And that I honestly appreciate a lot. Not even coming from a children's show, but just a TV show in general. I feel like shows nowadays, they always have to have the main characters come out on top and win, especially in children's television. I can't think of one kids' TV show nowadays that will have any of the characters lose a situation. They always have to stand out and be special. It's kind of like what I was talking about with the Loud House a few days ago. I kind of briefly touched upon it, but an episode that's coming to mind that would kind of give an example of what I mean is one of the most recent episodes of The Loud House. They did like this series where they were going on a road trip, and one of the episodes they found themselves in the White House, and just like one thing happened after another, and the family should have been kicked out of the White House, but instead they ended up getting invited to have a dinner or some sort of interaction with the President of the United States, who we don't get to see, but I was just sitting there watching this thinking, of course they have to have this happen. Because they always have to win, don't they? I feel like if Chowder was made today and you did this episode, I feel like the ending would have had Mung try to really make an attempt to make a proper gingerbread house, and then he comes out succeeding. I'm very glad that in this case he doesn't have this happen, because then this shows this character has flaws. He's not perfect, but he gave it his best. He can't do it, and we just need to accept that sometimes you can't do everything. If you are too perfect of a character, sometimes that could make the character feel a little uneasy, maybe even feel a bit two-dimensional, maybe even one-dimensional. No pun that he's like an actual 2D animated character, but I think you know what I mean. I just find that really interesting, and I guess that's why that special also really sticks with me, and why it does feel like a special episode. With that, I give it 2 thumbs up. No, I will never question what Chowder is supposed to be. Let's just accept that he's some sort of animal hybrid. I like Hey Hey It's Knishmas. I am not celebrating Knishmas though, I'm celebrating Christmas, but I think it may be the exact same thing, honestly. We just don't have our gift giver throw the gifts up. So that's our only difference. With all that, that's what I have to say and what I think about Hey Hey It's Knishmas. I really like the episode. It is one of my favorite Cartoon Network Christmas specials. And that's the end of that. Hey, let's move on now. Let's move on to that second show that I was talking about earlier. I want to talk about that one also because oddly enough, that shares a lot with this special, not naming Christmas by its name, but having a completely different title for the holiday. But in comparison to Chowder, I think it's just really being on the nose, being like, it is Christmas, but we're not calling it Christmas. And not for a secret reason either. I just think that's what the show wanted to do. I think they just wanted to create their own holiday and make it Christmas, but not call it Christmas. You probably have an idea what I'll be talking about tomorrow, so yeah, come back to see that. Thanks for watching The Wild Review on The Wild Review, and you just saw me review a thing.